Welcome everyone. I'm assuming we are live now, so
It's like,
let me kick this off. So welcome everyone to this famous Women in Tech 24 hours tour, featuring really all different parts of the world, from Asia to US. And now it's time to go to Switzerland with our Swiss chapter. My name is Safia Guini. I'm the Swiss chapter lead. And on behalf of the entire Women in Tech Switzerland team, I would like to welcome you all and really thank you for joining. As you know, the main topic we choose this year to focus on is around digital for inclusion. So I hope you joined some of the exciting events from my colleagues before and that you will enjoy this one. What I'd like to start with is one note about Switzerland. I could not believe myself, but when we remind ourselves about the fact that women only had the vote in Switzerland for about 50 years, not 15, we really see the need for the cultural change. And when it comes to technology and STEAM overall, we see the need to support women embracing STEAM and be part of the leaders who will shape the future society. And that is needed not just, at the start of the journey when you study or you choose your career path, but really actually during the entire journey of a woman. And we know how bumpy this journey can be, all the key milestones we can reach at some point of our career. And that's why it's important not to make just this initial step, but remain in this field and really keep attracting women along the journey so that they really still act as a key players. Today, we are joined by a fantastic panel of speakers. I truly an honor to have such a panel for Switzerland. And they will help us to highlight why digital inclusion is actually important also in Switzerland and raise awareness of what's being already done, because there's a lot of fantastic initiative happening, but also where maybe we should still focus our efforts. So if you all agree, let's kick this off. And for doing so, it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dalith Steiger, who will nicely introduce us to the topic, sharing her own perspective. And I heard Dalith speaking to some of other events, and I think you really don't want to miss that. So I'm so glad she's with us. Dalith is the co-founder of the award-winning startup called Swiss Cognitive, the global AI hub, and Cognitive Valley. We named really the Swiss AI movement somehow. She's a global AI advisor at Kickstart Innovation and also digitalliberal.ch. She's an amazing speaker and also she's a teacher, which allows her to share her extensive knowledge and experience in the field of AI around the world, so beyond Switzerland. She's also the CEO of the Swiss IT Leadership Forum. And I would say besides her strong drive for cognitive technology, she's also a mother of two teenager girls, actually 2 girls, and she's a passionate mountain biker. Last but not least, she's a big fan of high heel shoes. And I feel bad that actually in this virtual setting, we can't see her on stage and enjoy the lovely shoes. So I can't wait to see and us back to really face-to-face event and see that. So Dalith, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And thanks especially for having me here. And yes, as a mother of 2 teenager girls, it's also one of my roles that I see being a role model as a woman in tech. So dear AI enthusiasts all over the world, and I guess we're going to be mostly here in Europe now these times, it's my great pleasure and honor to open this Swiss session in this Women in Tech 24 hours conference around the globe. A great example how important global cooperation is and why Share for Success is indeed important. When people think about cognitive technology, they mainly think about algorithms, robots, devices. When I think about cognitive technology, I actually think about the human being, about how cognitive technology can augment the human being in its and do some compensation on our weaknesses. How can it support and protect us? How it can do our life better, healthier, and more secure. Now I'm very curious to see, what are you thinking about cognitive technologies? It would be great to have your thoughts shared with all of us in the chat. Now, when I was preparing this intro speech, I suddenly thought that actually I don't want to share some slides. I think it's a wonderful moment to take the chance to share some of my personal thoughts with all of you. You may have realized that I'm actually not referring to AI. I'm talking rather about cognitive technology. So why that? Because I think this expression is misleading. I mean, when we talk about artificial organs, joints, plants, or even jewelries, our expectations are it must look as natural as possible, isn't it? But with AI, I don't want to pretend developing a copy of a human brain. My aim is to augment our capabilities, support us in our weaknesses, and ensure we can focus on our core competences, as technology did already in the past, increasing efficiency and effectiveness, and developing new business models which have been here before, which actually hasn't been here before. And yes, there are various downsides to AI, and we must take them very serious. Saying that, we must, of course, take responsibility for how and where we implement and use these technologies, educate and upskill people and employees. But isn't this for most of the things that human being has invented in the past, like with medication? How often did your doctor told you to take a medication which is supposed to help you, but actually he wasn't 100% sure if it's going to do what it needs to do, or if you really have what he thought that you have? And we all know AI can help there a lot. I guess you all know this sentence: in case of side effects, please read the package leaflet or ask your pharmacist. Yes, unfortunately, we can't ensure 100% accuracy how and where the human being is using or misusing technology. It's significant we make sure ethical aspects are in place. One argument I struggle with is when people say the algorithms are biased, AI is biased, technology is biased. Actually, the technology simply reflects our society. Our biases, don't we have now the chance to unbias the bias? Yes, we do. And furthermore, we have a serious decision about ethical and responsible AI. Technology holds the mirror up to our eyes. Developing algorithms is an iterative process and should involve team members, employees, and clients, especially when it learns from our data, from our behavior, our various cultures, and from our patterns. We have the chance to lead on a better path. And isn't it that what we all want for the young and future generation, especially thinking that I'm, as a mother of 2 teenager girls, would love to have the best for them? All the decisions we make affects the younger generations first and foremost. And this leads me to one of the reasons why I started Swiss Cognitive. Switzerland is a high-cost country with high salaries, and actually we do not have any natural resources. We do not have oil, we do not have gold. The only natural resource we have is actually between our ears. We call it brain. And brain needs food. The best supplier of this food in Switzerland has been technology ever since the 19th century. Our country's prosperity has been based on synapses, not on natural resources. We have one of the best infrastructures in Switzerland. In the global competitiveness ranking 2020, it says, robust international trade fuels its strong economy performance, whilst its scientific infrastructure and health and education systems show steadfast displays. Switzerland has world-renowned university and research institutes in the field of AI, including ETH in Zurich, EPFL in Lausanne, the University of Sakhalin, ITIA in Lugano, and so on and so forth. Its proximity to cutting-edge research is a key reason why renowned tech giants such as Google, IBM, Microsoft conduct their AI research from here. Thanks to its traditional strengths in the life science, Switzerland is also driving AI development in healthcare. Relative to its population, the country has the highest number of AI patents in the world, which underscores its high innovation potential. Companies here benefit greatly from efficient technology transfer, sustainable software system, and unbureaucratic support from cantons and the government. Some numbers: 70.6% of all AI patents from Switzerland are considered to be top. We have first place Europe-wide AI startup density in relation to the number of inhabitants. So I'm asking myself, why can't Switzerland also be a startup nation? We are first place with regards to AI patents per 1 million inhabitants. Now, one very important topic we have here in Switzerland, and we definitely can be proud of. Actors like the UN, ITU, and the World Economic Forum are already managing important global AI activities from Switzerland. Building into this reputation, Switzerland becomes the world leader for AI governance and ethical implications for cognitive technologies. Now, thinking of that, I think it's a great possibility and honor for Switzerland to stand up here and listen to what we have to say, what we have to give to the others. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it's all about global cooperation, and it's about human and technology, men and women, clients and tech giants. So saying that, I'm thanking a lot to all of you listening, and I'm more than happy to go on with discussions on social media. I'm going to hand over to you again, Sofia.
Thank you, Dalith. That was a great opening, just setting the scene there for Switzerland. And whilst being a small nation, as you said, it's the first in place for AI startups per density. And it has a number of great strengths in terms of universities, the industries based here, and the global actors also that we have located in Switzerland. Just to link back to what you were saying, so the bias that we have being reflected, being a reflection of society, it's very interesting that you say that, and we're about to have some great panelists on here looking at how perhaps we can address some of that biasness that we have. So I would like to welcome Christophe Wadnier, Lucie Saint-Pierre, and Nadine Naifenga. And just to give you a bit of background before the speakers tell you a little about themselves and talk about some of the initiatives they're working on, looking at promoting digital inclusion and gender diversity in Switzerland. So Christophe is the director of École 42 and has led the opening of Campus 42 in Lausanne. It is the first campus of the 42 network in Switzerland, and these aim to address the lack of IT specialists in the country. He is a disruptor who likes challenges, and he's going to speak a bit more about that in a moment. We also have from Salesforce joining us Lucie Saint-Pierre, who is the Vice President Customer Success for Central Europe. in Switzerland. She has been working at Salesforce for the last 9 years and is passionate about diversity and the fact that talent comes in many forms. And lastly, but not leastly, we have Nadine Nafinger, who is the marketing director at Microsoft Switzerland, where she leads a multi-dimensional cross-functional team, as well as also being the head of philanthropies and leading social and environmental strategic partnerships in Switzerland, engaging with non-profits, government entities, and other organizations to build skills for employability programs. I'm going to hand over to our fantastic panelists now, just to tell you a little bit about what they're doing in their lines of work to help with gender inclusion. And first of all, I'm going to hand over to Christoph, who is promoting girls and women undertaking STEM studies. Christoph, over to you.
Thank you, Samantha. Hello, everybody. It's for me really a pleasure to represent the minority on this panel. I have been working for 25 years in IT, so I can say that it's not so often I'm the only man around the table. That's clear. That's for me really the problem. That's part of the problem. I started my studies in physics at EPFL. We are 100 men, 10 women. After 1 month, we are 80 men, 4 women. So it's really a challenge since the beginning for me. I work on IT company. When we had 1 woman on a team of 20, we are happy. That's creates some change, but often I thought she was very brave with all these guys in the team. I teach IT in the last 20 years for people that want to have a diploma organizing their experience in IT. Each year, I have 1 woman in the classroom, but rarely 2. For me, it was normal. I thought that women don't want to work in IT. When I have the possibility to work on HESSO, the University of Applied Science of French part of Switzerland, I decide to sign on this job because for the first time in my career, I will have 2 women above me in the hierarchy. I wanted to experiment if it's changing something in the work environment. And it's changed. Not always in the good way, but it's create a place for openness and for accepting different manner of thinking, of working, of learning. When I took the responsibility of the IT team, we were 15, sorry, and we have just 1 woman on the team. So I decided to try to change something. I change just a little things when we add somebody. If I have any doubt about an application, I refuse the male candidate and gave female candidate a chance to come on the interview. With this little change, I have parity in the number of candidates in interview, and at the end, the team will grow to 19 people with 8 women. That changed a little thing, but the parity become a reality. What is the link between this story and the situation for women in tech? For us in 42 Lausanne, the situation is the same. If we don't have so much women in IT, it's why they are not confident about their capabilities and don't study it. How could we convince women that IT is also for them, with specific actions that offer the chance to try and to like IT? In 42 Network, we know that the results are the same in the online test for women and men. We know also that the results are the same in the PSIN, which is the second level of the test, like a sort of bootcamp of 4 weeks of coding. So it's simple. If we have 10% of women in the selection phase, we will have at the end 10% of students. If we have 15% of women in the selection phase, we will reach the parity. During the selection process, the women discovered that studying in IT is very fun, is creative, challenging, and could also open a lot of opportunity for the life. So the question is more, how could we have 50% of women in the selection phase? I will explain what was the situation in Paris, in 42 Paris. In 2019, they have 14% of women in 42 Paris, like in other IT school or university. 2 things changed this year. First, Sophie Viget will take the lead of 42 Paris. And second, she leads an active policy of gender diversification. In 2020, we have 28% of women in the piscine in Paris. In 2021, in February and March, we have 48% of women. That's a parity in 2 years. So it's possible to do something. That's really a message of hope. What's changed? They've changed inclusive communication, reassure of the accessibility of the school for everybody, develop partnership with external entity, set up targeted advertising on social media, create dedicated events, be an opinion leader on the subject, and have more and more women in the students. So that's changed the mindset internally and also externally. And what we are doing in 42 Lausanne? The same. Today, we have 25% of women in the selection phase, and we work to reach 30% for the first year. We communicate with inclusive message. We communicate with inclusive image. We participate at this kind of meeting with targeted women on social media, but we work also on the other diversification factor like the age, social origin, disability, etc. So the key of success for us is to work with experts on this question. It's not so easy question. To try new things, to learn of the different experience we make inside of the 42 network, and to convince women to share their own experience in 42 schools. That's what we experiment in 42 networks. That's what I try to do in 42 Lausanne, and I hope it will change the situation of gender situation in IT learning on 42 Lausanne, but also on HESSO, EPFL, or universities. Thank you.
Thank you, Christophe. And I'm going to hand over to Lucy, who's going to tell us give us some examples from Salesforce, where they have a back to work program for women.
Yes, thank you so much, and great. Thank you, Christophe, for sharing your experience. Really insightful. Yes, so I have the chance to be working for a company for which equality is one of the top value, and we live it every day. And to start with, I would like to give you a couple of data points. You know, in Switzerland, only 11% of IT specialists are actually women, according to Digital Switzerland, which you will agree is really far too low. And even though we have the best educated women, generation of women in the world history, we do not find them represented in our industry or in other industries on an equal way. And nor are we easily finding women in leadership positions. Additionally, 1 out of 7 women and mothers will lose their job during or after maternity leaves, according to the Swiss Workplace Institution. So, you know, if I look at myself, I have been in the IT industry for a long time, and I chose twice in my career to stop working to look after my kids, each time a minimum of 1 year. And then when I went back to work, it was not so easy to find the position I had left before my maternity leave. And this was the same experience for one of my colleagues prior to joining Salesforce. Her name is Vanessa Gentile, and she was the initiator of a great program that we have all embarked on, which is called the Bring Women Back to Work program that we have at Salesforce. So Vanessa, like me, in other times, you know, stopped to look after her kids, went back to work, didn't find the same opportunity, and had to reskill. And when she joined Salesforce with the type of focus we have on equality, she thought that's going to be a great platform maybe to bring this initiative to life. So what is this initiative about? It's really to empower moms returning to the workplace and to give them opportunity to reskill, to train, to find jobs in IT. And it's associating our ecosystem, some great partners, 14 of them who are partnering with us to look at the profile of the women who applied to this program and to find jobs, including part-time jobs for these great ladies who wants to work in IT. So this program has been, was brought to life a bit more than a year ago. Every quarter, we look at embarking new applicants. The program is open as we speak. We have 8 more positions open as we speak. We have 18 in total every quarter. And we look to engage a cohort of ladies on a 12-month coaching and learning experience. The program brings mentoring, it brings training. The woman on the program will be able to get some certification, Salesforce certification, which are highly in demand in our care systems, within our partners, within our customers. We are actually mentoring those individuals. And we are really looking at exploiting all our networking opportunities to really work as a stepping stone for them to go back to work. So the program is very successful. We have already more than half of the ladies who joined the program who found a job. And we're very, very proud of this program. So the program is currently open for women who are living in Switzerland. It's open to people who want to work in sales, in business development, who may have had some former consulting experience, who may have had IT experience in the past. If you're interested, it's easy. You look us up on the internet, Bring Women Back to Work. So BWBW space Salesforce, and you'll find our link. You will find the way to apply. Alternatively, you can also register your interest by sending us an email on bwbw@salesforce.com, and really looking forward to helping some of you find their way back to work. So that was my testimonial on this great program and this equality program.
Thank you, Lucy. It's great to hear what Salesforce has been doing, particularly as you say, coming back to work can be a very difficult process, particularly if you have taken a longer gap, and there is that feeling that your job is not the same, and finding new skills to find new ways to have a new opportunities for employment is really important. And that leads us very nicely on to Nadine, who's going to tell us a little bit about what Microsoft has been doing as well with regards to skilling.
Yes, thank you so much, Samantha. So I think every one of us is aware that we have done a tremendous step in digital transformation in the last 12 months, especially due to COVID pandemic. Computing becomes embedded in every aspect of our lives right now. And the world is transforming through tech intensity and scale. Every organization will not only need to adopt the latest technologies, but more importantly, also build their own unique digital technologies, or otherwise will be left behind. Just imagine the number of technical specialists and developers at non-tech companies has grown faster than the tech companies itself in the last 12 months. To increase, especially the woman representation in all those companies, it is important that diversity and inclusion is part of the overall company culture. If we talk about diversity, we also need to address inclusion. This goes hand in hand. Measures of diversity and inclusiveness are a reflection of each of the culture in each company. At Microsoft, we have implemented different programs over the last few years, and one of them is called Allyship. Allyship is a platform for new behaviors and ways of thinking, and gives each employee, and also me and everyone I'm working with them, an understanding of what to expect from each other. This is a super important cultural aspect in an organization like Microsoft with more than 160,000 unique employees. If we look at Microsoft itself, I At the moment, I think we are around 30% women in the IT sector. So there is still space, of course, to go tremendously up with those numbers. But coming back to allyship is a model and tool, especially for self-reflection. It helps us better understand our own emotional reactions, encourage us to establish system within teams, and also hold ourselves accountable in our way we do business and also work together. In an article I just read a couple months ago, the Facebook COO is asking her staff over and over again, always one single question. When was the last time you had a hard conversation? And I think to ask hard questions, facing the answers, and being willing to experience discomfort in the process, this should be the necessary work that individuals and organizations must do every day to become more diverse and inclusive. And being inclusive isn't just hiring people or women or inviting their opinions based on diversity. Inclusivity is really about focusing on the needs of every individual, ensuring the right conditions are in place for each to achieve their full potential. It is actually the process of leveraging the power of differences and similarities to integrate everyone into a culture of the organization to achieve a common goal. In the end, a diverse and inclusive environment will lead to better ideas, better products, and better outcomes. And in addition to allyship programs, we are also creating unique communities within Microsoft. Those communities are actually named employee responsible groups. And employee responsible groups are communities who are totally voluntary. It's employee-led, it's globally distributed groups where members with shared identities, that could be, for example, women at Microsoft. We have also Black at Microsoft. We have different communities where we can engage and talk to each other, and also collective power in support of diversity and inclusion efforts within the workplace. Those communities are a key enabler for us in helping employees feel valued, respected, and included, in helping our organization attract and retain a diverse workforce. That's pretty much it, what I had to share right now from Microsoft. And I would like to hand over back to you, Samantha.
Thank you very much, Nadine. It's really important that, as well as what everybody else has mentioned, that the culture is welcoming and inclusive, in order to make women feel part of it and able to contribute. And it's great to hear about the efforts that Microsoft is making and the importance they play. We're going to move on to a couple of questions now for each of you. So I'm going to start with Christoph, and just going back to some of what you were saying earlier about education and encouraging women to pursue studies in STEM. Just thinking more about what's happening in Switzerland, you've mentioned that globally as well, that it is a challenge getting women to take up studies in STEM. But do you see this improving in Switzerland, and what can be done to support more women to pursue STEM? So you've mentioned a couple of things already about targeted advertising and working with partners. What else do you think could be done to help support?
So first, I would say that the situation we have in Switzerland is quite the same that in West European countries. It's quite stable on the time. We have 14 to 18% of women in tech studies. I think that we could change that. That's a big part of work to do that. I have three ways for working on that. First, to promote and explain. I know that the women don't agree that we need to have specific strategy of communication to attract her, but the reality that the studies prove that when we target women with content on channel, we have more women in the tech study. So it's the first part of things to do. Second part, it opens the doors. Like Lucy said, we know that some part of the woman will come back on activity and perhaps to change also part of the activity. In 42, we believe that the access to the tech studies must remain open, even if women want to change the way of studying or way of working. We know that today for us, it is easier to attract women of 25 to 35 years on tech study because they have changed their mind, as they have less afraid about the tech. Perhaps they have worked with tech team and see it's not so horrible to do some tech activities. So the third way I would say is proof to the success. Dali said it is important to have the role model clearly, but also accessible role model, like for example, a woman of the team, a student, a candidate on 42 context. It's also important to have every kind of role model and to communicate on that.
Thank you, Christophe. That's great, and I agree. Role models are very important to encourage women in their pursuit of their studies. Just moving on, so thinking about the women that are now working in STEM, and going back to your points about the introduction of the Women Back to Work program in Salesforce. Are you aware of any other positive examples of supporting women in their careers? So perhaps when they take a career break or going back to work.
Yes, I mean the attention to equality is constant. And it's important to have role models, right? So I think women will be inspired to join companies that have women who are, successful, who are making their way, as a tangible sign that this is really happening and this company is walking the talk, right? A company that I was hearing, Nadine at Microsoft, and we do the same also at Salesforce. We have equality networks of all kinds, and the Women Network is really one of the biggest one we have across the globe, where women along their career, and if they want to change also inside the organization for whatever reason, can have advice, coaching, developments, opportunity for networking inside the company and beyond. But they can also join forces and have place of discussion and open conversations about the reality of mixing work-life balance, and priorities. And where they can also have opportunities to do volunteer time off together, join associations together. So I think this is really encouraging. We have also for women who are really moving really fast into the organization, a way to have them take some stretch assignments outside of their areas of responsibility. So we have different programs like Women Aiming Hires programs, depending on the business units, where we can really promote further. And then also outside, I would like to say that there are many reasons to interrupt your career, and sometimes it's because you've changed countries, or even you are migrants in our country, right? We have so many talents who are coming to Switzerland and who might be lost, and I would like to recognize the great work of many associations, one of which is Power Coders, for instance, that we support also, who is really helping migrants to get the necessary skills and training to find jobs, and amongst them, obviously, women of talents. So these are great inspirations all around, and it's really an invitation for all of us, wherever we are, to open the door and think on how we can help maybe a person in need or somebody who needs some steer, some coaching, some help, and open up our network for them.
Thanks. It's great to hear of some of the other initiatives going on, and networks such as this one, Women in Tech, are great examples
Totally fantastic. Yes.
of women supporting women, and totally agree too that it's not always because of children, but for many other different reasons that women take breaks. Caring being another example. Women often leave to take care of a
Yes.
relative. Just sorry, moving back to Nadine, and I'm conscious that we're running time, and I'd love to give you all more floor time, but just because you mentioned the importance of culture and diversity within organizations, what do you feel that are some of the particular cultural barriers that need to be overcome in the workplace in Switzerland for women?
Yes, and I try to be super crisp with my answer right now, so we have time for all the other questions as well. I think what we need to overcome is actually stereotypes. I think the biggest problem women face in the tech world is the outdated but stubborn idea that women and technology aren't a good fit. Girls start hearing this misconception in elementary school and early years, and it doesn't stop when women start working. But I think also something what we need to consider as women, and I think the most important is don't stereotype yourself. If you want others to treat you equally, you should have the correct mindset. Do not expect any advantage or special treatment because of your gender. And I think only with a balanced view from both genders, we can drive customer experience and achieve organization excellence and empowering every person and every organization to achieve more.
Thanks, Nadine. That's great, and it's so true that we do need a balanced view with both genders represented, and often women do themselves a disservice by stereotyping themselves, and we all need to work together to address that. Going back to Christoph, what policies do you think need to change in Switzerland to ensure more gender balance in STEM?
Of course, I think there's a question of mindset, not really policies, but policies can help to change the mindset. So I just will say in 42 Lausanne, we have 2 or 3 tips we use. For example, we keep place for women. Just one example, if it's not possible today to register for a man on the 15th of July, but we have some place for women yet. That helps a little bit that women that decide now to come, they have some place. To organize sometimes women-only events, but also men-only events, or also other dedicated events. And to have what we want to have, it's difficult to have some specific grants to support career transition. For example, scholarships for women who want to change the career or whatever. We search to find this kind of solution, and that I think that could help because the finance situation is block a little bit the change. So we hope that we will find a solution in 42,000 on other situation.
Those are some great suggestions there, and I'm pleased to hear that you're doing it, and I'm sure that other organizations are also doing it in terms of how they can make it more even for women and try and balance the scales a little bit while things are a little bit skewed. And just sort of on the same line, so we've talked about policies and perhaps like grants, which could be given by an institution or by a government. But thinking about companies, what types of measures would you recommend that Swiss companies consider to retain women in STEM careers?
So if you allow me to answer this one, maybe I think what is important really is to make sure that companies walk the talk. So you know that when equality is important, then it shows. It shows as the example that Christophe was giving. You know, it shows in numbers. You know, it really is lived. You know, in the company. It's important, like for everyone, to be given some true career perspectives and some regular coaching and mentoring. So there is opportunities and perspective for development for women all along their career. And I think these are the key measures, really. You know, a transparency, declared and lived equality will certainly create the loyalties in everyone, you know, women and men alike. A diverse workforce, a diverse environment is so much more interesting.
That's a great answer, Lucy. And you guys are doing all my work for me, because I had a question on diversity for Nadine. So just to move on, so we've talked about the policies and what companies can do as well. And what are maybe, Nadine, if you could say, what are the top 3 recommendations, your recommendations to implement and ensure a diverse culture in companies?
Yes, and I think what you still mentioned me before, walk the talk. I think that's the only thing. If I go to 3 recommendations, I think it would be create awareness. So really walk the talk. It's a cultural topic, diversity and inclusion. Then the second one would be embrace curiosity. That's really a question of make a habit of asking questions. Just ask your question. Don't be shy. Include and seek input from people with a wide variety of backgrounds. I think that's the second important thing. The third on embrace curiosity is really to understand each person's contribution in a company. That's super important. And then the last topic, I think it all starts with you, because diversity and inclusion is not slowly the responsibility of each CEO or senior leaders or anyone else around you. It comes down to each behavior or your behaviors and what you, let's say, bring onto the table every day. So every single person matters in the company at the end of the day, and we all contribute to the creation on an inclusive and diverse culture.
That's some great ideas there. So Nadine, thank you for that. Embracing curiosity and making it all about you and improving awareness, coupled with the suggestions from Lucy and Christophe. Those are great. We're coming to the close of our session now. So I just wanted to ask you all in one sentence, if you could, what would you think would be the most effective action to take towards a better digital gender inclusion, a better gender digital inclusion in Switzerland? And if you could sum that up in one sentence, I know it's hard, but Dalith, I'm going to start with you first. So what would be your one sentence?
I think what we've heard all summarizes very well. And from my side, I think the best is go along your talent and passion, and then you will achieve no matter at the end of the topic.
Thank you, Dalith. That's a great encouragement for everybody here listening. And Christophe, over to you.
I select the capabilities, the offering, the possibilities for young girls to discover what is IT before they decide that is not for her. For example, with a free coding bootcamp for teenagers on 12 to 14 during the holidays.
Another great suggestion. Myself with a teenager, I also think that's a great idea. Lucy, over to you.
Yes, I think I would encourage, it starts with every one of us. And I will encourage everyone to have faith in themselves, right? There's nothing that is stopping you. You can always learn those skills and let your talent shine. And there's so many things available online. You know, we have a trailhead online, free place to learn and skill up. And there's so many things that you can get a hold of. Just the world is the oyster, go for it. And for the rest, every one of us who are working, let's make sure we give a hand to the people who are not, and we bring them in.
More great suggestions and positive thoughts as well. It's so important to encourage those women we see around us, particularly who may be starting out or struggling in their STEM careers. And
Yeah.
Nadine, over to you for a last sentence.
I think for me, it's like never stop to ask the hard questions, and also being willing to experience discomfort in the process, let's say, in getting what you would like to receive or in getting the job you would like to have. And I think we need to experience this, that's part of life, but never stop to ask the hard questions.
Thank you, Nadine. I again, I agree with you. That's so true. Women often are afraid to ask those difficult questions that don't seem to trouble men so much, and we need to be perhaps a bit more confident about tackling those difficult subjects.
Yes.
Thank you all. You've been great panelists. I'm going to hand over to Safia for a final word on this session.
Thank you, Sam. And thank you all, amazing speakers. So I have to say it's frustrating because I think we had an hour and we know how quick it goes with so many nice speakers. So we knew it's going to be hard once we invited all of you. But I think we still had lovely inspiration from everyone, really from different angles. So thank you so much for that, because I'm sure our audience really got inspired. There's much more to come. So, and I'd like to close with mentioning that what Women in Tech Switzerland would like to tackle, this is just the start of a journey. And we won't do that alone. So we clearly want to partner with all the ecosystem in Switzerland. It's not going to be only with corporation. It's not going to be with the tech giants. It's not going to be with education. It's all together. And I think if we want to change that, that's the only way. So we want to involve all the ecosystem partners to be on this journey with us. We want to also leverage the great initiatives happening. And you in the panel already mentioned and share lots of great initiatives. We want to leverage them. We want to avoid, to duplicate efforts, but rather build on those efforts and come and support this further. And we want also to really, as I said in the beginning, right, it's really helping on this entire journey, because we all at the different stage in this journey, and we all face different type of challenges. So it's really important to help from the very young future talents to inspire them. I think there's still a lot of work to do that. And but also at the late stage of the career, saying, yeah, it's not late. There's so many options today to embrace this technology. And I often hear people say, oh, this is a woman in tech, so I'm not really in technology, so it's probably not for me. But I'm always telling them, no, look, technology nowadays is everywhere. You want it or not, it's everywhere in your daily life. So either you embrace it and make it and use it as an opportunity for your future, or you're going to stay aside. So I think it's really important for everyone, especially our women who represent half of the society, to embrace that, to leverage those future opportunities. And that's what we're willing to really work on with Women in Tech through really great partnership and sponsorship. So, and all the members who join in between our community, we are really pleased to see so many members joining, and we want to grow this community. But also then we are part of a global community, as you see today with this 24 hours actually going on. That's also the power of leveraging, learning from each other through the world actually, and take the really great practice, sharing best practice across the globe as well, so that also Switzerland can learn from the others or we can share our best practice. So that's what I really, I'm so pleased and honored to be part of this movement with the Swiss team, super passionate. And yeah, I'd like to close saying thank you all. Thanks to the global team who organized that. And thanks for the Swiss team who also worked a lot, including you, Sam. And thanks to our amazing speakers. That's just the beginning. I'm sure we'll get you again, I hope, to continue on this conversation, on this journey as future ambassadors for us. So thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of the events for all the audience, because there's more to come. So wishing all the best for the next chapter. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.